So the results of the independent autopsy for Nolan Wells are in, according to Ben Crump. However, he has also shared that he is not going to release them until after the funeral has taken place. So, what exactly does that mean? Well, it could mean one of two things. It could mean that obviously it came back that it was accidental drowning, or it could mean that it says suspicious circumstances, which are the only two options at this point. But I'm leaning towards accidental drowning. In general, though, I think he just doesn't want it to overshadow the funeral, or at least I hope that that's why he's doing it. But what do you guys think? Why do you think he's not releasing it until after the funeral? Do you think that there's a reason, or do you think he's just honestly trying to keep the family from it overshadowing the funeral? Let me know in the comments.
Black people took a white person out in the ocean and the white person did not come back. The president of the United States of America would be making a speech. He would invite those white people to the house, and he would let them to the White House, and he would let them sit there and chit chat, and then he would put every single black person in prison and throw away the key. There would be no bail. There would be nothing. They would be tortured for information. There would be no, they can go home and sit with their mommies and daddies. Mommy is a judge or stepmommy is a judge. They can sit there. There would be none of that. The president of the United States would make sure that everyone knew how horrible black people are. Everyone, the entire world, it would be international news. But it's not. It's not, because nobody gives a
All right, so look, we all been wanting to know. Is there going to actually be justice for our boy Nolan Xavier Wells? Well, that being said, the FBI have finally consulted on the case according to local authorities. Now, that being said, we hope and we pray that the FBI is working diligently to get us valid answers, transparent answers. Because no, Nolan Wells did not drown. He did not drown at all. We know that, you know that. So stop saying that. There are other authorities, other individuals in different states. For instance, in New York, there's a few videos that are going viral right now of authorities in New York. They're being asked, what's your thoughts on Nolan Wells, the black kid in Mississippi? And they're like, oh, he drowned. No, he did not. You all think that black and brown people are just ignorant or just dumb. Like we haven't been here, like we don't know. We know. We know what those white boys did. And we hope that justice is served, because it's Tuesday. And nobody's been arrested yet. The judge, she needs to go because she's in on it. The 3 white boys need to go. Also, the white girl, apparently that stayed with him, or that knows a lot of information or whatever, she needs to be investigated too. All of those phones need to get handed over to. They need to get handed over to. They definitely do. And also, it said that on the 20th of this month, the Mississippi Coliseum will be holding his funeral. Nolan, I'm so sad that this happened to you, my brother. But I hope justice is served for your mother and for your father, and also for your entire family and friends, your real friends.
Do you think race might be a factor?
Like my wife said, I don't want to believe.
So sorry. So you telling me you're in Mississippi, where the same place where they had almost 1,000 lynchings, right? You don't want to pay attention to race and race dynamics and all of these things, but now your son is dead, and now you have to bury your son. Just think about this, right? If I was somebody who was going to rob your house, and I had to have one influence over how I rob your house, and I can tell you one thing, I would probably tell you to leave your door open. So I would think racist people would tell other people, don't worry about race. Race is not that important. Don't think about it too much. It's not that big of a thing. So it'll be easier to make sure your kid is floating in a lake somewhere. You know how race does play a role in this situation, even if you take the 3 white boys out. Because if it was 3 black boys that mysteriously went out with a white kid and came back with no white kid, understand they'll be already in the interrogation room. No lawyering up, no quiet, no silence. They will be locked up. public scrutiny would be outrageous. This case would have moved so fast it would have made your head spin. It is nothing wrong with understanding how race, racism, and race dynamics plays a role in things. You know that does not make you a victim. You know what actually makes you a victim? Being so ignorant and blind to the fact that race is actually a thing in a country where they used to hang people up and skin them. Now that will make you a victim faster than you ever know.
It seems like they know Katie, they have her number, and it just makes no sense at all. Why would he leave without his phone and not Katie? And then the Coast Guard, right? They said initially Petty Officer Cheyenne Becerra with the Coast Guard stated that the Coast Guard was not notified about Nolan's disappearance until 12:26 p.m. on July 5th, when the Jackson County Sheriff's Department requested assistance. However, the Coast Guard has since clarified that a friend of Nolan contacted the Coast Guard around 11 p.m. on July 4th, the night he disappeared. It just seems like there is a massive cover-up. And what are they laughing about in the end of the video? It's disgusting. I can't verify if this video is real or not, but all these friends have a different story, and it's all suspect. And the fact that his parents didn't even get to see his body, that they identified him just by dental records, like what happened to this poor kid within just 2 days that he had to be identified only by his teeth? Good Lord, send light, love, and prayers out to the family. I can only imagine how hard this has to be to go through in real time amongst the public, and we just want justice for Nolan, because if this was an accident, his parents wouldn't be going through this. Always trust a mother's intuition. Secret Service Sam out, Samson for president of the world.
All right, y'all, things are happening in the Nolan Wells case, and some of them change what we thought we knew from before, so let's get into it. All right, in my earlier video, one of them, I referenced that viral argument video. I've shared the video, and I also talked about what was said about the video in the press conference. And Ben Crump said at the press conference that Nolan can be heard in that video saying, "Give me my freaking phone, what are you freaking doing?" And that is what he said at the press conference. But new reporting has come out that actually directly contradicts that claim. And I wanted to address it here because I can't even believe this, but like there are millions of views on these videos, and I just want to make sure that like as facts come out, that's what we're talking about, because I'm trying to deal in facts over here. There's just so much going on with this case. All right, so Trayston Shepard, who is a close friend of Nolan's that was on Horn Island that day as well, he spoke to Rolling Stone and he said on the record, "That's my voice, that's not Nolan's," and his actual exact words are quoted, "Those were not Nolan's words, they were mine." So he says the video captured a completely different argument between him and another person. Nolan wasn't even visible in the recording. He says Nolan was off in the water elsewhere. Like he was fine at that point. He wasn't arguing with anybody. And as we know, and as I've seen, his friends, his family, everybody said that he was a very peaceful person, that he was non-confrontational. I don't know that we can say the same about Trayston Shepard. This kid is 20 years old. He got into it with his girlfriend apparently. Somebody I think was walking by and he said criticized his either handling of that argument or the argument in general. They started getting into it. His family tries to get him back on the boat. He says that what was going on was he was yelling, "Get me off this fucking boat," because he wanted to get back on the island and apparently fight whoever this was that he was getting into it with. So he says for sure that that argument was all me. That Nolan had nothing to do with that. Javon Williams, another close friend of Nolan's, confirmed the same thing to TMZ. He said the audio sounded like Shepard, not like Nolan, and that he was there trying to calm Shepard down during that argument. And both say Nolan, he was there on the island, but he was not part of this argument in any way. Now, Crump has not responded to any comments about this. He had said that there were other people that they interviewed who identified the voice on the recording as they thought it was Nolan's, but as we know now, it was Trayston Shepard. There are a couple other things that are circulating pretty widely that are not confirmed by reputable news outlets. They don't seem to be verified. One is that there was a party at one of the friends' houses after Nolan went missing. Again, if that ever gets like verified, vetted, whatever, we can talk about it as fact, but right now that's just sort of seems to be social media circulating. There is also, though, a photo circulating that people are saying shows Nolan at a pool party in Jackson County before 1 a.m. on July the 5th, and Ben Crump himself did repost it, but there's no official confirmation yet on whether it is actually Nolan, what the full context is. The only timestamp that I can find as to when this photo was posted on the original Instagram was it said 21 hours ago, and the caption was just summer 26, so like very vague. But I don't know 21 hours ago as of when. I don't know when the screenshot initially was taken. All right, so again, this case is moving really quickly. There are a lot of pieces in the air. As things update, I will update you guys. As things change, I will let you know. Obviously, like what happened with the press conference, there were some things that Ben Crump thought, because he had gotten them from a source, that were incorrect. So as I find out, if I find out anything that like we've seen somewhere and it turns out to be incorrect, I'm gonna let you guys know that too. We know though that there is an ongoing investigation. There are unanswered questions. There do seem to be some contradictions in maybe some of the eyewitness accounts and things like that. We still need people to come forward with photos and videos and all of those things. So I know that the family and the police are still asking anybody who was there, please share photos, videos, eyewitness accounts, anything like that. And just so you guys know, I am a host on the true crime podcast, This Feels Criminal. We do deep dives on cases every single week. We release Tuesday and Thursday, so you can find us on podcasts, YouTube, whatever. So if you like my bite-sized updates, I do full case dives over there. I'd love to see you there.
Did y'all see Nolan Wells' friends talking about the altercation that happened on the island?
You just described that you had another friend, not Nolan, another friend who was in and got into a dispute. Is that video the other argument that you were talking about?
Yes.
So, but is that Nolan in the video?
I can't tell. It's too far away. But in that video, I feel like the voices are too clear. Like from the side, it's too clear for it to be that far away, for it to be Nolan arguing. And then also that altercation, it sounds just like my other friend that got into the altercation on the boat. And they were trying to, like, as he was in that altercation, I was calming him down. They were trying to get him out off the island. They were trying to get him back to land because he was just losing it. So
describe that. That's kind of interesting. What was that about?
He was just very hostile. Like he was just like really like mad. Like they were just trying to, like the parents on that boat were trying to get him out.
Did any investigators ever speak to you about what you saw that day?
No, sir.
Really?
Okay.
Cops have not talked to you yet.
No, sir.
That's odd.
I don't see why the cops would have to talk to me. I mean, obviously, like, you know, like I had said my plea, like, because whenever I had talked to the people at Sunheard, it was whenever, you know, the body was discovered and the autopsy people and all those people were there.
It's odd to me.
Just to gather information.
Yeah, that the cops wouldn't have contacted you. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's fine. Like, I'm completely fine with that. Like I said, I have nothing to hide. Like, that's my boy, and I want him to find justice. Like, that, like, this whole case thing, like, whatever, like, this whole situation, none of this adds up to me. So
Yeah, none of this is adding up to anybody. But when they asked if that was Nolan in the video, and he said he doesn't know because it was too far away to see, you were there. During that altercation, was Nolan standing there with you guys during that altercation? Not based off of what you saw in the video, but based on your own two eyes, was Nolan there during that altercation? Why is that, like, and it makes zero sense why the police aren't questioning his friends. Like, why aren't y'all investigating what the fuck happened to Nolan? Why are y'all just trying to say, oh, it was a drowning accident and just wipe your hands of it? That makes no sense. And then this is the friend who I believe Javon was talking about, who was actually in the altercation.
We did no wrong here, and we don't understand how we're getting so much hate behind it. We all cared and loved Nolan, and nobody wanted to see Nolan die. Nobody wanted to see his life be taken so short. That's the video I'm referring to. That's me yelling.
Shepard says he took a boat back from Horn Island in the late afternoon, but Wells stayed behind with a girl he had met.
They met that day, and it was kind of one of those things. It did come off that day that he really did like her, but that was the only time they'd ever hung out, was at Horn Island on July 4th.
And another creator had posted saying that Trayson said that Nolan wasn't even there during the altercation. If that's the case, where was Nolan at? But I didn't hear him say that in his interview, so I don't know where he got that from. If Nolan wasn't there during the altercation, where was he at? I'm so ready for the facts of this case to come out because there's so many contradicting stories. Nobody knows what's true, and I know this is driving his parents crazy. But we're going to get justice for Nolan Wells by any means necessary.
In the Nolan Wells case, we have two versions of events that need to be debunked. One being the video that's circulating where you can hear people arguing. Nolan's friend came out to Rolling Stones yesterday. There was an article put out where he says that video that's been circulating is him arguing with someone else. Apparently, him and his girlfriend were having a disagreement.
This could change everything with this Nolan Wells case. Now, this right here, this photo right here, is a photo that they're saying shows Nolan Wells at a pool party July 4th at night. Technically, July 5th at night. Now, if that is true, and this isn't AI, and this is not just some kid who looks a lot like Nolan Wells in a pool party with a bunch of white kids, this could be a huge situation. And this also shows, and this also proves that what they've been saying, the narrative that has been told by these kids, by his friends, may not be entirely accurate. They're claiming that the photo that we see here, he went to a pool party after going to Horn Island with his friends, and that apparently this photo was taken late at night on July 4th. Technically July 5th. And remember, his friend said that he was last seen around 3 p.m. on the 4th of July. That's when he allegedly went off to go talk to some girl and all that stuff. And remember, the girl said that he was going back over to his friends to take that boat back out to the mainland. And apparently, if this photo is correct and real, he took that boat back to the mainland to kick it with his friends. And allegedly, he wasn't cool. Allegedly, he was not cool with all the substances that were being consumed by the kids at this particular party. And then, of course, there is an allegation of an actual altercation that happened at this particular party. Now, again, like I said, we don't know if this is a fugazi, if this is the real deal Holyfield, or if this is fake. But one thing is for sure. An account posted this, all right, and then suddenly now that account has removed this very photo and has privated their account. Why? Again, like I said, is it because somebody just wanted to stir the pot and make some AI slop to get everybody, riled up? Or do they have a missing piece of evidence that could really expose and unearth the truth on what's going on with this case? Anyway, comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. Hit the like, hit the follow. What actually happened here, y'all? What happened to Nolan Wells?
Do a lot. I'm going to laugh. I'm going to joke. It's all a key, right? A hee, hell, if you will. But what's never going to work for me is do not piss on my head and tell me it's raining. Why would you tell me that you came back to land without Nolan in the boat? And then I find pictures on the internet that says Nolan came back and then y'all was at a pool party. We have more information. Pull up a chair. Let's chat. Thing Attorney Benjamin Crump is going to do, he's going to say, look, y'all not looking over here. Here's a little bit of something. Go look over there. It's giving very much Delroy Lindo. Good fight. You understand the reference. Maybe you don't. That's a different conversation for a different video. Over the weekend, Attorney Ben Crump put out a picture on his Instagram page. And what we saw was Nolan in the pool with some of the boys that was on the boat. We saw some beers lined up. We were having a good time. We also noted that this picture was taken after all of the boys alleged they came back without Nolan. Oh, you might be thinking to yourself, well, where did the picture come from? Word on the curve is that, remember when the boys came home and they immediately deactivated their social media accounts? Well, one of them had a Threads account and did not know that when they posted to Instagram, it also posted to their Threads page. They didn't deactivate the Threads page. And that's where the internet sleuths found said picture. This picture was taken round about 1 a.m. So again, Nolan came back. What happened? We don't know. That is for the detectives to do their job. But what we can deduce from this picture is that Nolan did come back to land, right? And that would make a little bit more sense as to how his car and his phone got there, but he wasn't there. What happened?
What does it mean that Nolan Wells had to be identified through his dental records? I'm a forensic scientist and a former CSI. I got this comment on a recent video. The question is, Why did Nolan have to be identified through his dental records? Is that standard protocol? And then they said, I would think that only a day in the water, you could still absolutely recognize a person. Short answer is that it's pretty standard protocol. The longer answer is that in this case, there were almost certainly some decompositional changes that prohibited a visual identification. Nolan Wells went missing on July the 4th. He was found on July the 6th. So that's about 2 days. And this is in Mississippi in the summertime, in the water. So it's incredibly hot and it's a wet environment. And unfortunately, that can speed up some really significant decompositional changes. This is a screenshot from a document that's published by NAME, the National Association for Medical Examiners. As you can see, they do allow for variation of identification methods to be chosen on a case-by-case basis. So sometimes that's going to include a visual identification, viewing of the remains. We would maybe do a visual identification if somebody dies alone in their home, locked inside of their home. I can look at your face. I can look at your driver's license. I can see that it is the same person. There's no damage to your face. There's not really any question about that. The next thing that we are going to try for identification after a visual and facial identification is going to be fingerprints, but that's not really viable in this case either for 2 reasons. Number one, the body is out in the elements and in the water for 2-ish days. That can make recovery of the fingerprints pretty difficult. And number two, and more importantly, we have to be able to compare your fingerprints to something. So if you're a young guy like Nolan who's never been in trouble with the law, we don't have your fingerprints on file. So taking your fingerprints isn't going to do anything because when we run them through the system, we're not going to get a match. But in a case like this where we have a suspected ID, meaning we think we know who that person is, we have a pretty good idea about who that person is, and we know that person doesn't have a criminal history, fingerprints is just not going to be a worthwhile avenue to even try. So we're going to go to dentition, which means we are going to look at your dental records. And then if all of that fails, we would go to DNA. So I know there was some commentary in the news where the police were saying that they were considering using DNA to identify the body, and then they were able to identify him via dental records. So they were probably preparing to take DNA from the decedent and his parents to do a paternal identification in that way. And then it seems like they were able to get their hands on the dental records and didn't need to go down the avenue of DNA identification.
More and more details are coming out about Nolan Wells, that 18-year-old who went missing over the 4th of July weekend, who was later found dead. If you guys remember, his friends were saying that he did not leave Horn Island back with his friends. Well, there's a picture that has came out allegedly showing Nolan Wells at a pool party after the island. So that totally contradicts the witnesses and what they were saying. Their attorney, Ben Crump, he posted this on his Twitter. He's showing right there, Nolan Wells. Apparently at this party, there was an altercation and Nolan Wells was violently assaulted. This was after Horn Island, you guys. Apparently, he was violently assaulted at this party. He was even screaming out for his mom. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? He was coughing up blood after he was violently beat up at this party, maybe even drowned multiple times. I don't know. There's so many theories scrolling around the internet right now, and this is the biggest one right now. Nolan Wells' family, they deserve answers. It's been over a week with no answers, no verified answers, because here's the thing, you guys. There are other reports coming out saying that once they received his body, his dead body, there were bruises all up and down his body. Now, you guys know, I was not there. I don't claim to know what happened, nor will I ever claim to know what happened until facts do come out. But I want to spread awareness on this case because Nolan Wells, he was an 18-year-old. 18 years old. Do you guys understand? His life was taken too soon. Taken too soon. He was a great swimmer, so the drowning theory needs to get out of the question. He was a great swimmer that even came from his parents and the lawyer. This is just devastating. It really, really is. What do you guys think? What do you guys think happened? I want to know you guys' thoughts. Now, to be clear, like I said, I don't know what happened. It's dangerous to speculate what happened, but there are so many things leading to the opposite side of what I wanted to lead to, and that's murder. It's murder. It seems to me, with the evidence that keeps piling up, that he was murdered. Why? I don't know the reason, but I believe he was murdered. I'll keep following this story for you guys, provide updates as they come out. As always, follow along for more, and don't forget to share Nolan's story.
I can already tell you how this investigation is probably going to go. They're probably going to find no foul play, and although there are a lot of inconsistencies, if you're from these areas, if you're from the South, familiar with the Gulf, unfortunately, this is very, very tragic, and despite a lot of these inconsistencies, this is the type of thing that happens. So they did do an autopsy. What essentially happened is Nolan goes out 4th of July weekend on a boat with his 3 friends. They're on an island. They're hanging out. He says he wants to stay back with his friends. Anyway, the friends leave with the boat. His phone is on the boat. Nolan is found a few days later. The friends say that he was staying back with another girl. He was found face down with his swimsuit on, no outside injuries, no inside injuries, because they did do the autopsy. The only thing they're waiting on is the toxicology. So his phone was one of the weird things. It was with his friends on the boat and not with him. His family found it first. That to me is not odd. He probably had one of those apps where he can trace it. And if you're out boating on the water, you're keeping your phone where it's not wet, which is probably safe in the boat. And other people are saying, so where he was left on the island, there's not exactly a place where you can call anyone, where you can walk to. It's a pretty secluded island. He's there by himself. So a lot of people are speculating, he's there, he's young and healthy. He probably tried to swim back to where people were. Why did nobody see him if he did in fact drown? It is a silent killer, and I say a lot of this too because I grew up right next to Lake Lanier. Just look up the history. We have drownings all the time, to the point where there are conspiracy theories. There have been movies made. It's the most haunted lake, and there are all these people that pass away and all of these conspiracies around it. But unfortunately, it's the same situation. It's a lot of people that are young and athletic and healthy, and they go to the lake and they're partying and they're hanging out, and a lot of them get in the water when they shouldn't, or they're swimming, and unfortunately they end up drowning a lot. And it is really hard to imagine a young, healthy, athletic, capable person. It is hard to imagine that happening, which is why you get a lot of the conspiracy, which is why people don't want to believe it, I guess. But that is looking like more than likely what happened. And another reason probably for some of the I'm not sure, but in the pictures that it showed, it looks like they might be partaking in other ones as well. So that could also explain a lot some of the other miscommunications or inconsistencies. That happens a lot. I used to go to Panama City for spring break. It happens. You're out with friends, you meet up with other friends, you're moving along, it happens, and hopefully it's a cautionary tale.
I'm going to make a video about the Nolan Wells situation because I'm seeing a lot of similarities between his case and Trey Reed's case, and it's honestly upsetting. The reason I say that is because Trey Reed's case, the same thing happened. Everybody got online, said a bunch of speculative bullshit with no actual backing, with no proof of evidence, with no burden of proof. A bunch of champion of the black people, as they self-proclaim, champion of the black community, Facebook and Twitter accounts would say, they were like, oh, all this stuff happened. This is what is actually going on. This is what's happening. And they don't actually ever cite a source because they don't ever have to have any accountability because there's no face to the actual person doing this stuff. They just make a bunch of money off of all their posts and all the engagement they get. And then when nothing ever comes of it, they don't issue retractions. They don't delete their old posts. They just move on to the next thing, the next person that they can race bait, the next death that they can try to profit off of. And you say, well, Trey Reed was lynched. No, he wasn't. That was what everybody said when the first autopsy happened, because it was also in Mississippi. They also said, oh, it's a cover-up, even though it was a black coroner's office with a black police chief. It's not the same with Nolan Wells' case. But Ben Crump came and represented Trey Reed's case. Colin Kaepernick paid for a second autopsy. Family said they were going to release a second autopsy as soon as they got the results. It's almost been a year. We've never gotten those results. And you want to know how I know that? Because I've followed the case and I've looked it up and I've made sure that that wasn't happening. Because if that did happen, I would want justice for their fucking family. The same way with Nolan Wells' case. If it comes down and we actually find out that, hey, second autopsy, there's bruises all over this guy. They clearly were covering this up. And I'll be like, oh my fucking God, we need to get justice for this. This is ridiculous. Fire all those cops. Get rid of the coroner's office, get rid of that police chief, find out who was involved, internal investigations. We need to get to the bottom of this. But we're here and it's just speculation. Oh, they didn't even find water in Nolan Wells' lungs. Where are you getting that from? A Facebook post? Oh, he got into a fight at a pool party. Well, this wasn't a pool party they were at. They were out on a sandbar at a beach on an island. It wasn't a pool party. They were out on a boat, right? And like, I don't, like, yeah, I know we have, oh, there were the messages deleted off of his phone, apparently, right? Says Ben Crump. But again, Ben Crump also represented the Trey Reed case and said that we all know what this really was, and then just never came back and was like, hey, actually, never mind, he did actually commit suicide. Like, they just race bait people. They tell them that it's a lynching, it's a terrible like they're white people are out to get the black people. And then when nothing actually comes of it, they just quietly slip back away and act like they were never a part of that case. I'm going to get called a racist, and I'm going to get told that I'm wrong, and I'm going to get told that I'm just supporting the white man because of my complexion, instead of actually listening to the arguments I just made and being like, maybe that is actually a problem. Maybe there is something to be said about people profiteering off of a kid's death by speculating about nonsense.
What happened to Nolan Wells? I really want to know, because how do we go out on a boat? Now, we didn't take a Uber, we didn't take a car, we didn't drive. I drove to your house, we went out to a marina, we took a boat to an island, and everybody gets back but him? How did we, and we thought you were on someone else's boat, and that person thought you were on someone else's boat. And nobody in 2026 checked to see where you were or where you were going or who you were with, and you somehow ended up alone and floating up to the water the next day. What happened to that boy? Like, I really want to know what happened. And I think it's so strange that nobody's just saying, like, okay, everybody's just placing the blame. Oh, I thought he was going with her. Oh, she thought he was going with him. But somebody saw something. Hundreds of people on an island. The only way to get there is a boat. And it's just a mystery. And then you just float up the next day. Something's not right. But let me know what you guys think about this down below in the comment.
There's no water in his lungs, so he couldn't have drowned. I'm a forensic scientist and a former CSI. I've gotten this comment in a couple of videos, and I really want to discuss it before it gets out of hand. The investigation into the death of Nolan Wells is getting a lot of attention, and with that comes misinformation, including posts like these from a user on Facebook who said that Nolan Water did not drown, no water in his lungs. This post has been shared almost 2,000 times. It has 5,000 likes and almost 800 comments. But the problem is, it's not correct, because although an autopsy was conducted already by the state of Mississippi, there has not been any information released publicly about his cause of death. His autopsy results have not been made public yet. But even if it was true, the absence of water in somebody's lungs does not mean that they did not drown. In about 10 to 15% of drowning cases, people experience what's called a dry drowning, meaning there is no water in the lungs. I have personally attended the autopsies of drowning victims and seen cases where there was no water in the lungs. Oftentimes in drowning cases, we do see what's called a foam cone. This is an external finding. It's like bubbles or foam around the nose and the mouth. Unclear if that was present or not in this case. In drowning cases, like in other asphyxial death cases, these are often situations of exclusion, where after the autopsy, every other possibility for why this person died is excluded. In fictional TV and movies, they frame it to say like, oh, we know this person drowned because there was water in their lungs at autopsy, or smoke in their lungs if they died in a fire. But in real life, that doesn't always happen. But again, to be clear, in this situation, we don't know one way or the other, because posts like these are not backed by any publicly accessible information.
In the Nolan Wells case, we have two versions of events that need to be debunked. One being the video that's circulating where you can hear people arguing. Nolan's friend came out to Rolling Stones yesterday. There was an article put out where he says that video that's been circulating is him arguing with someone else. Apparently, him and his girlfriend were having a disagreement. Some guy walks by, says something to him. He starts basically arguing back and forth with this guy. It gets escalated to the point where they actually get into a physical altercation. So again, the video that's circulating of people arguing is Nolan's friend. It is not Nolan. The other one that people need to stop with is the pool party. Someone who was at that pool party in the picture has already come out and said that that pool party picture is from June, not July. Why people like to do this with cases, I don't know, but people love just spreading lies and rumors and making stuff up. It happens all the time. I see it all the time in a number of cases.
Nolan's situation. I'm speaking as a mother right now. Everybody you hang with ain't your friend. Everybody you laugh with doesn't love you. Please trust your gut. If something feels off, leave. Call your mom, call your dad, call somebody. Share your location. Make sure somebody knows where you are at all times. And please stop thinking that being cautious makes you soft or scared, because it doesn't. You don't have to prove how tough you are. We just want you to come home. And I need my son to know. My son. I have a son. I need him to know and understand that there is absolutely nothing that he could call me about that would stop me from coming to get him. I don't care what it is. I don't care what time it is. I'm coming to get him. And we could talk about everything else later. Young black men, you matter. Your life matters. Your mental health matters. You matter. And we need you. So I will end with this because I started with it. Say his name, because I hope that his family gets the answers they're looking for, the answers, the transparency, the justice that they deserve for their son, Nolan Xavier Wells.